Hello, and welcome back to Pseudo Gameplay TV. I am your host, Pseudo, and today we're having a look at Crystal, one of the Inhuman characters. There's a couple of Inhuman characters that are usable in Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3, Crystal being the first in the list of alphabetical characters, and she's also available pretty early on in the game. So I don't know a whole lot about Crystal in terms of what she's capable of, so being able to use her abilities in this game has been quite a fun adventure, at least for me. So let's have a little bit of a look into her abilities here and a brief rundown on this character before we jump into that. As we stated, Crystal is an Inhuman, so she has some benefits from Inhuman physiology. But apart from that, Inhumans all have their own little unique trait, and Crystal's just so happens to be elemental manipulation. So she has air and wind manipulation, earth and metal manipulation, fire and heat manipulation, water and moisture manipulation, electricity manipulation, ice and cold manipulation, as well as weather manipulation and flight. So she does fly around, very similar to other characters such as Captain Marvel and a couple of others. For lack of a better term, she's your resident airbender, but she's pretty good at what she does, and she's a lot of fun to use. So her different abilities, as listed above, are she has her Fire Burst. This is the one that you have right out of the gate, which engulfs the area in flames and allows you to hold the button to charge that attack. So it is an area of effect that does emanate from Crystal specifically. Her second ability, the Hydroblast, releases a cone of frigid water in front of the character, and you can hold the button to aim. So this is another one similar to Captain Marvel's charge beam attack, where you can use it and then have some direction of it. Now her third ability, the Cyclone ability, releases a tornado in front of the character. The tornado slowly advances over a short period of time, and you can hold the button to charge up the tornado as it's being used. Now, Star-Lord has a very similar looking ability that we've seen in the Let's Play series. Feel free to check that out if you haven't been already. And the last attack that she has is called the Groundbreaker, which causes rock spikes to erupt from the ground. And again, you can hold this button to aim it. So a lot of elemental control, and these attacks do allow Crystal a little bit more ranged capability than what we're accustomed to seeing with some of our other character highlights and introductions. We'll also be showcasing her ultimate ability today. And you'll notice, yet again, I do have the same synergy team. That is purely because they give a lot of extra damage for energy-based attacks, which is where Crystal excels. And that is indicated in the top right-hand corner under the team's bonus section on the screen right now. But let's go ahead and jump into a rift, see what Crystal's capable of, and how to use her. And we're back into the Kree ship, defeat 200 enemies on the Kree ship, which allows us to successfully showcase all of her abilities. So let's go ahead and jump in and see what Crystal's capable of and whether or not she's a good pick for your team. All right, so right off the bat, one thing that we want to showcase with Crystal is her flight ability. So as you press the double jump, it does give you the ability to kind of fly around above your opponents, which is kind of nice to use. Her standard attacks are ranged, so she's not as much as an up-front and up-close brawler. So try and keep her at a distance where possible to better conserve her health. So those are her standard attacks, and do note throughout the video here that her attacks, in terms of what element she uses, do change after using any of her standard attacks. So those are her standard attacks. Her heavy attack is an orb of whatever element we're looking at. Do take note that this does not stagger or drop down the opponents as other heavy attacks tend to, or at least it's not as effective of doing so. And then her aerial attack will send down an orb of whatever element she's currently wielding and deal some damage upon contact. Now, to get into her abilities, her first one is the Flame Burst, or Fire Burst, which can be charged. and does quite a good job at clearing out areas of enemies if they're being particularly oppressive. So do keep that in mind if you find yourself under some unnecessary pressure. Now her second attack is this Hydroblast, which is actually frigid water, and if you train it on a certain opponent for an extended period of time, it will freeze them, like so. And it is good to note that when frozen, the opponents will not be affected by fire or thawed quicker than necessary. But now, since I've used that Hydro attack, I do just want to showcase that her standard attacks are now water and ice attacks rather than the fire that we saw earlier. Now, onto her third attack, we have the Cyclone, which looks like this. Similar to an attack we've seen Star-Lord use. I know I mentioned that earlier. This one does get quite a bit bigger. And her wind attacks of her standard attacks are as so after she's used this ability. And then, finally, we have her Groundbreaker, which does not emanate from immediately under her, as we've seen with other attacks, but instead an area slightly ahead that is outlined with a sphere of influence. And then her attacks, her standard attacks, are shards of rock or earth, instead of the other elements that you've seen previously. Now, in terms of her ultimate attack, it does kind of roll everything together all into one. And again, an area of effects type attack that we've seen with other opponents. Now, arena combat isn't exactly the best place to showcase Crystal's ability, as there's not as much room to run, but we'll manage as best we can. But she's quite fun to use and rather diverse as well. Well, unfortunately we weren't able to finish that trial. Team comp may not have been as great as some of the previous ones that we've seen, but we were able to showcase Crystal's abilities pretty well and give you a better handle on what she looks like and how to use her. Again, try to use her more in open areas. I don't recommend these smaller encased trials, but she's fun, she's useful, and certainly a noteworthy addition to this game. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Throw a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care.